Today we have Lanee Higgins of the card game Winsults with us. So welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. So when I think of the name Winsults, I think of, a game where people insult each other. That's kind of how they win, win and insults. Is that correct? Is that on base?
That is exactly right. So the game is in the name. You win by insulting another player. You can also use compliments too. They're nice, but they're not as fun as insults. And when you get a box of Winsults and you open the box, the first thing we actually have in it is a disclaimer about the use of insults, because the game can get pretty intense, but it can also be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I'm curious. I mean, it can get intense, I'm sure, with the game being on insults. Do you think you have to be with a close group of friends to play this game, or can even strangers kind of get into it too?
Strangers can get into it as well. I played with friends, I played with colleagues, I played with strangers. And I think because of how the game is played, it's not necessarily personal. It's more so you're trying to think on your feet and trying to figure out the best insult is. So it doesn't necessarily get hostile, but it does get intense in terms of there's a time limit and you're trying to beat this other person. So it's best played with a close-knit group, but it doesn't have to be played with a close-knit group.
Yeah, I could definitely imagine that. I can see, my friend group, for example, they love to get on this and get the opportunity to insult each other. I mean, we do it anyways besides out of card games, but if that could be the objective and it could also let us win, I mean, that's, two birds with one stone right there. So that's awesome. So I'm curious, what's the target audience for your game?
Anybody over the age of 18 who wants to play. There's not really a target audience. I've played with a variety of people who are as old as my grandparents, people who are young. Like I said, I've played with colleagues, I've played with friends. I played with a friend and her mom, and we went back and forth, and it was a lot of fun. So anybody, again, over the age of 18 can play Winsults.
Nice. Yeah, I noticed you had a card in your hand earlier. Could you explain a little bit more about how the game works? Maybe show some cards too.
Okay, so like I said, the first thing you have is a disclaimer. So it tells the player that we're not responsible for the silent treatment that you may get as a result of Winsults, or anything else that may happen. And then when you open it up, you have the rules. And then on the back, we have the deck, gameplay, bonus cards, which are letters like Z, Q, and X. Because those are difficult to come up with words for. And then we also have warp cards. So the way the game is played, and I'll get into warp cards in a second, is you have 45 seconds to insult your opponent. So you draw a letter card. I'm going to show an example of a letter card.
Yeah, sure.
So I got O. I have 45 seconds to insult whoever I'm playing with the letter O as many times as I can. Then my time is up, and the other person draws a letter card and they go. There's someone who keeps score in time, and it's the best of 3 rounds is the person who wins. If there's a tie, you can choose to keep going. You can flip a coin. It's up to you, but usually someone wins 2 out of 3. We also have warp cards, which kind of change gameplay. So for example, we have alternate mode. So if we were playing right now and I was just insulting you, then now I would have to compliment you.
Okay, cool. Nice.
We have alphabet. So for this one, you have to go down the alphabet. I have to start with A and insult you, then B until time runs out. We have name play. So then I would take the first letter of your name, and that would be the letter I have to use.
Okay.
We have 2 name play cards in there. Audience participation. Now this card is so much fun because then this says the audience can help you with insults in your 45 seconds. So there have been a lot of people who have been upset when their opponent gets this card, because usually it means, well, you lost the round because everybody's going to go in. But my husband and I, we played as a team against another team, and we actually won even though they got this card. So this card really changes the game. And then we have Showdown. In Showdown, you go back and forth until somebody misses. So there are 9 warp cards total. And those changed the way that the game is played instead of doing the 45 seconds back and forth. But people played Winsults in so many different ways.
Yeah, I can imagine like lots of chaos going on, lots of people, going back and forth, getting kind of heated in a fun way, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sure you've played a lot, of course. I'm curious, like, what has been like some of your funniest stories or like your best insults you've heard?
Oh boy. Okay, so we just had an event not too long ago. We had a game night at No Land Beyond in Baltimore, amazing venue. And some of the ones that just were crazy, we had zebra neck. What is a zebra neck? Someone said Vagisil. And I think I was about to spit out my drink when someone said that. A friend of mine just screamed out, gonorrhea sufferer. I was playing for a couple of friends one time and someone said Antichrist. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Less than human. Oh gosh. And a random one was like roast beef sandwich. We had a vote on whether or not that one even counted because we're like, wait a minute, how do you call someone a roast beef sandwich? Bare-legged woman. And that was like from one of our Winsults Wednesdays, Quasimodo. And the funniest one to me, our first tournament that we had, the team won with the word doo-doo head. Like they took it back to elementary school, but it counted. So there have just been so many. And I'm sure I'm missing a lot of them, but people really get creative when it comes to Winsults.
Yeah, I bet. No, I can imagine like lots of creativity coming out. I'm sure there's been lots of cases of like insults that aren't really insults, right? It's like
right.
Maybe, but I can imagine the pressure of people like looking at you and people like, only 45 seconds, right? So lots of pressure, I'm sure, that can result in either super good creativity or maybe some like missed comments too. That's super cool. That sounds like a lot of fun. So I know on your website, I read that you have like house rules, or you would like encourage house rules, right?
Yes, yes,
do you have any examples of like good house rules?
A lot of our modes that we came as a result of playtesting and house rules. So like team mode, when we got into teams, people love that. And it's a lot of fun to play that way. All play, where you have everybody goes around the room with a letter and you go until someone misses, they're out. Then you go to the next letter and you keep going until one person wins. Continuous mode, we don't usually, personally, it's not my favorite, but some people love it because it's like creative, but you keep going. You keep picking letters until your 45 seconds is up. Some people use categories. Well, they use the letter and you have to come up with different categories instead of insults. My family back home in Pennsylvania, when they play it, you have the same letter for two teams and they have to come up with as many words as they can in 45 seconds and compare their lists. So any rule that people can think of, there are people who have told us we don't use the letters X, Z, or Q, we just throw them out. It's like, okay, cool, as long as you're playing. So, I mean, I'm sure there are other ways that people play, but it's up to you. Our idea of Winsults is it's the game you only have to buy one time. There aren't any expansions. You are the expansion. So you can add rules, take away rules, however you want to play.
That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense. Like the whole game is right there, but there's so much like opportunity to customize based on house rules or based on what you want to do, right? So that's really cool. So what was the inspiration behind your game? Like what caused you to want to make this game?
So we were talking earlier about how you said your friends like to, do insults back and forth, even if they're not playing a game. So Valentine's Day, 2019. And my husband and I trading insults, he was roasting me. And he goes, well, what if this was a game and you had 45 seconds? And I'm like, He put it in our text group with two of our former business partners. And I said, why don't we make this our business idea? And Winsults went from there.
Nice. Yeah, have you done any games or board games or things like that before?
No, Winsults is our first game.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great idea for a game for sure. When did you start this?
So we officially launched in terms of like selling the game to people on November 25th of last year. But it was a lot of, and I'm sure you know, planning and developing before then. I was really excited. Like, we got the trademark on Winsults. We own Winsults. But yeah, we officially launched in November of last year.
Okay, very cool. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't launch on Kickstarter, is that right?
Yes.
So I was curious, a lot of, creators do launch on Kickstarter as a way to like get more promotion or to get more eyeballs on the game, or, just kind of like that's what a lot of people see as like the standard of what to do. So I'm curious, like, why didn't you do a Kickstarter? What was your thought process behind that?
So my husband and I, we wanted to do a Kickstarter, but our former business partners were really adamant on not doing it, and nothing we said could convince them. So we didn't launch with Kickstarter, but my husband and I, we are planning to launch with one soon. We want to redo our website first. We want to get a good video of gameplay. There's been a couple of mishaps there, so we want to make sure we have a great video. And we also want to build our following on social media a bit more, so that when we launch a Kickstarter, there'll be a lot more noise.
That definitely makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think like the most successful Kickstarters are ones that, of course their game is great, but even on top of that, they do a lot of marketing, right? They have lots of followers, they engage with their audience, they do things like that because, even if you have the best game in the world, if no one really knows about it, then it's, it's not going to be a success, right? But it sounds like already you have lots of, like people playing your game and lots of support from the community. So that's great. I'm sure that's going to translate well once you launch your Kickstarter. You mentioned that your previous business partners were, not into launching on Kickstarter. That's totally, that's totally fine. I was curious though, like, do you know what their reasoning was behind that?
I just, they felt like if we did it on Kickstarter that we would fail. But they didn't really have too many reasons behind that. But I felt like launching on Kickstarter would help us grow. So that's why we're planning on doing it now. I really, that's the only reason I can think of that would come to mind why they didn't want to launch.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, if you don't have a huge audience already, then maybe Kickstarter wouldn't work out. But that's definitely a fair reasoning behind that. Like, I know, for example, like previous people I've talked to or previous people that I've connected with, they've launched their game on Kickstarter as a first-time creator, and it didn't do so well, because they didn't really spend too much time marketing it. But then, later on they launched again after, doing the marketing and gathering the community, and it was a huge success. So, I mean, like, it's definitely fine to even fail initially, right? Because that's when you kind of learn, and that's when you kind of see what you did wrong. And then from there, you can kind of make it better afterwards, right? So, yeah, I think, it's definitely a valid concern that, I might fail. But I think, it's, even if you do, it's not really a big deal, right? Grand scheme of things. So could even be beneficial too. So that's definitely, yeah. I'm glad to hear that, you're going to launch on Kickstarter soon too. That's cool to hear. Yeah, I think it's going to be very helpful, definitely. So, obviously you have done some marketing, I'm sure, like whether that be just with your friends or getting the word out, organically through meetups or things like that. But yes. I was curious, I mean, I'm sure you have done things like that in the past and are still doing that. So I was curious, like, what has been the most, where have you seen the most success from marketing so far?
On Facebook. Honestly, just asking my friends and family, hey, could you follow me? Hey, could you share this? Hey, could you like this? It has really helped. And I believe today we have 317 people who like it and 319 people who follow. And that has been just inviting people and not being afraid to send messages or sharing content and tagging people. One of our big successes is every Wednesday we post a letter, and it's Winsults Wednesday. And people comment with different Winsults that they have. And I respond back, and I like to make it a competition because all of that builds engagement. So I have a small community of friends who come back every single Wednesday to participate. And when they do that, it builds engagement. So more people see us. So Facebook has been the biggest. And then on Instagram, I believe we have 221 followers. And again, that's asking people to follow us. I started a campaign when we had 61 followers. And I was like, get us to 100. That weekend, it got us to 200. Wow. So that was really exciting. And I also do little things to boost engagement. I have a poll every day, which Winsult is better, and people vote on that. I recently, because everyone's doing challenges right now, I created a challenge where you write a Winsult, you find a GIF for it, you tag somebody so that they do it and share it. But it's just been a lot of, this is kind of like my marketing strategy. I'm very aggressive. So I want us to be out there. I want us to be shared. I want people to see us. And right now, because of everything that's going on, everybody is on their phones.
Yeah.
So right now we have to be out here and sharing and making sure that people are talking about us. And last week we got a lot of orders because we were active. So my two things for marketing is to create shareable content, and we're doing that. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Is it Giphy?
Yeah, something like that for sure. Yeah.
So I created GIFs. I say GIFs. I know it's GIFs, but I prefer GIFs.
Yeah.
I created a ton of GIFs for Winsults on there, and apparently we're up to 17,000 views. And like, I don't know how, but that's awesome. We actually have a Winsults Instagram filter that we submitted, but Instagram just sends a lot of their employees home because of what's going on. So it's going to be postponed. We have like little things you can put into your story. And then again, the goal is to build engagement. That's our second part of our marketing plan, with asking people to comment, to like, we have one that's called What Was Said. So it's like people's reactions of like to Winsults that were said. And we share that every Friday. So you can see like, oh my gosh, what was said to make someone make that face.
Yeah.
And then the last part is just networking. Like, it's crazy. You don't realize who you know. Like, a friend of mine has a lot of marketing knowledge, and it's just like, wow, like, I had no idea. And then my husband is actually in contact with a couple of celebrities because he knows them personally or friends of friends. So we've been networking like crazy.
Nice. That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, a couple of things that I want to talk about in more detail from that. So, and the first thing, I think it's super cool that you have like that content you're creating. I think there's lots of like awesome content ideas for your game specifically. I mean, because your game is based on like insulting people. So there's like so many funny things you can do based on that, right? And I'm sure that translates well to views as you've experienced and engagement that you've experienced. So I think that's really smart what you did to make like GIFs of, you know, like the reactions to insults, right? The reactions to gameplay. So that's really cool, and I can see that working really well as it has been already for you. Yeah, that's a medium that I haven't really looked too much into. Like I have, of course, in the traditional like social media and things like that for marketing for my own things as well, but I never really considered doing like, you know, GIFs or GIFs, right, for that kind of exposure. That's really smart, and that's something that I definitely should consider as well for my marketing.
Yes, a friend of mine told me that last week, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to pass along the knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. That's really cool. I mean, I would have never even considered that as an idea. So that's really cool to know that. I know you mentioned like networking too. Like that's of course very huge. Like I'm super into that for sure. I mean, like now that the virus is in place, we can't really go outside. There's many more opportunities for virtual networking, right? So whether that be with connecting with other creators or other people that would be interested in sharing the game, like that's really cool. I guess my question for that to you is like, what's been your like strategy or your plan for networking with people?
Just do it. Come up with a message. It's simple, it gets right to the point, catches their attention. I might even put like a picture of Winsults in my message, and then just wait for a reply, because it's scary at first. Like, oh, I don't know what they're going to say. I haven't talked to this person in a while. And then they respond and they're supportive. So just asking, because when you ask people, they're more willing to do it. You never know if you don't ask. I think I sent at least 100 messages to people about Winsults.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think, definitely like, going out of your comfort zone and just not being afraid to really ask, or even, still be afraid, but just do it anyways, right? Like that's what really matters. And I think, as you mentioned, like people like to help out when they can. So people like to be, people feel good when they help you out, right? So if you can give an opportunity to help out without being, unrealistic or anything, then they'd be happy to do that, right? So great ideas.
When you posted about interviews, I was so nervous, but I was like, you know what, I'll do it.
That's awesome.
Taking any opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, for me, it's been so much fun to do these interviews because I get to, connect with people. I get to see what they're doing. I get to, learn from them as well. So, for me, for sure, it was, difficult at first to feel the courage to do this, right? Because I don't really have any experience interviewing or anything like that, really. So, but it's been really cool for me to like be a part of this and to, connect with other people and to do all of that. And none of that would have been gained if I, was too afraid to do it, right? So, or if I didn't decide to do it because of fear, right? So, yeah, it's been really cool for me too. So I definitely resonate well with that idea. So if people like to learn more about your game, where can they go?
Just ask us. Like, we're on Twitter, we are on Facebook, Instagram, and we're at Winsults on all three of those platforms. You can shoot us an email at info@winsults.com. We are very accessible, so if they have any questions, they can send us a message. Like I said, we really want to redo our website to provide more information, but if you want to know how to play, we have a how to play page that really breaks it down. But yeah, just come to us.